Perfect. Okay, we got the recording live. Okay. So from this moment on, we're gonna get recording of this webinar. Uh, and let's get this going. Tom, over to you. Please introduce what NetRise does.
Thanks, Mike. So, at its core, NetRise is a software supply chain risk company that focuses on um, binary composition analysis. So, where a lot of companies are focused on, software composition analysis, focused on things from a source code perspective. NetRise is focused on this from a compiled code perspective. So, being able to rip apart different artifacts such as Windows applications and binaries, Linux file systems, ELF binaries, containers, and even firmware coming from embedded Linux, real-time operating systems, supporting a wide variety of different device types. And we do this instead of source code because access to source code for end users, such as yourselves, is not really possible or available, right? Microsoft is not going to send you their source code. Cisco is not going to send you their source code. Compiled code is actually what is running in your environment. That's the actual thing you have. Now, if you're building your own applications in code, then you'll have the source code for those things, obviously. And also, you're missing artifacts in source code. When you have compiled code, you have credentials, you have binary protections, you have certificates, misconfigurations. There's a much more comprehensive set of supply chain artifacts that can be assessed and analyzed when you have access to the compiled code in the final product in your environment.
So when I first learned about NetRise back, I think it was what 2018 is when you started.
2020.
Or 2020, yeah, yeah. So
Or even
I was
newer.
like, wow, this is so amazing. So this guy from I think you worked for Silence before. Going into starting this new company and doing some really magical things. Like, oh, how's that even possible? Like without getting access to source code, how do you know which components are in? That sounded really exciting. So when I learned about that pre-announcement, I think you were in the stealth mode before, and it kind of came out of the stealth mode. I was like, wow, these guys are doing something really cool. And then finally, I got introduced to you like a few months ago through our mutual friend. I was like, wow, like I could get to know the legend behind this magic. So, so I'm
Yeah,
very excited to actually doing this with you.
I
All right.
appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, and then just to give everyone an idea what Action1 does, so the most simple way to explain is the patch management that just works. So and that's the essence of it. Going into the details, so it basically it's an all one-stop solution for discovering what vulnerabilities exist, like how to automate their remediation, and we comprehensively cover both operating system and third-party application vulnerabilities. And in the end of the day, you get continuous compliance with your patching, for anything you have in your environment, your servers, workstations, laptops, and it scales really well into distributed enterprise networks because it's cloud native. It works from anywhere, so no matter where endpoints are located. As soon as they come back online, connected from the hotel, airport, whatever they are, they get patched. And we put a lot of thought into how to get this done. And there's thousands of enterprises use this worldwide, and we're certified for SOC 2, ISO 27001. We put security first. We're a security first company because the last thing you want from expect from your security tool is that tool to get breached. So we like really put a lot of thought into our architecture, how we operate this. Uh, Now, and the essence of it. So I think the best way how we like to talk about ourselves is this claim of 5 minute setup. Start patching your endpoints in under 5 minutes and rapidly scale to as many endpoints as needed. So we put a lot of thought into designing our user interface the way that when you get started, it's super easy to add a few of your test endpoints, get them patched, immediately, even automate them. And I'll show you that. Seeing is believing. And there's going to be a quick demo of Action1 in this session. Uh, and it's just super integrated, super cool to use. We wanted to make it cool for you guys. And just in the essence, what it does, it discovers all of your vulnerabilities that exist because it's an agent base that the agent runs on each and every system. Put it on, super lightweight, under 10 megabytes in size. It just stays there, looks for installed applications, and matches that against any known vulnerabilities that exist, and also determines which patches are available, and what other remediations are available. And it does it for both operating system and the underlying operating system, as well as applications installed, and make it in highly uniform way. And when you need to patch, we put a lot of thought. Since it's a cloud-based solution, there's concerns about bandwidth usage. Like if you need to deploy a super large patch that's 5 gigabytes in size, and you have 10,000 endpoints that need it right now because it's a 0-day issue, uh, our peer-to-peer update distribution mechanism makes it super fast and efficient. So because it breaks it down into small pieces and deploys pretty much immediately. It looks like one single download for your entire network. And it's effectively goes out to 10,000 endpoints or whatever number of endpoints you have in that location. Uh, and it does, as like I said, it does third-party application patching. It has its own private software repository where we host all of our patches information about software. And that going back, actually, how this ties back dovetails into what NetRise does. We're going to talk about this more, but Action1 hosts all those applications and is able to deploy them or patch them, but we don't know what's within them, right? And this is what Tom is going to cover in the following slides. And it allows you to do basic software vulnerability management. It's not a full-fledged vulnerability management solution. It won't tell you which ports are open, what's not misconfigured, but it will tell you if any software is installed. It will tell you if it's vulnerable or not. And I covered the peer-to-peer distribution and also a huge aspect about Action1 and is it's real time because the agent runs all the time. It detects something, it reports to the cloud, and if any vulnerabilities exist, if or any new patches are available, uh, you're pretty much able to patch right away at scale. Uh, and some of the latest things we added to the platform is we added support for Mac OS, which was a highly anticipated feature. People want to go cross-platform. Nobody wants to use multiple consoles anymore for different types of systems. We also addressed the big issue with the National Vulnerability Database. These understaffed, underfunded. Congress still cannot make any decisions on that, so like no new vulnerabilities being documented in the NIST's vulnerability database. So we put some effort into documenting that, and whatever we repository, we actually we get it from the vendor. So we say, okay, if Google acknowledged that there's 5 different CVEs in the latest update of Chrome, we put that in. And again, how this ties it really well into what NetRise does. It'll go even deeper than that, right? And Tom will of course cover that. And there's other things what we added that you should check out. We have this public roadmap on its URL. So it's roadmap.action1.com if you want to know better what Action1, what's coming out soon, and what we've done recently, definitely check that out. If you, okay, and then just some thoughts. I planted some seeds as far as how we see it, and Tom, maybe you can add it. Like how you envision that, how you think Action1 and NetRise can do better together. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Action1 has a inventory of the applications and software from its customers' environments. And I think there's a couple different ways that we can talk about providing value and additional visibility and risk identification based on the software that's in all of your environment. So number one is if you're already an Action1 customer, that inventory already exists, of course. And so step one would be providing that inventory to NetRise via an integration. Everything's API first. It'd be very, very transparent and easy. There'd be no action required from the end users whatsoever. We would generate SBOMs, do all the analysis, and then return that data back to Action1 for additional enrichment, visibility, risk identification, and then subsequently provide the capability to build policy around this net new set of data that we generated and we're able to provide back to Action1. So now, moving forward, you would have the ability to query, do I have log4j in my environment somewhere? If so, where? Do I have a particular version of OpenSSL on this particular software application or endpoint? Do I have, where do I have specific open source libraries and packages within my environment? Questions like that. And then we also go through, if you think about an application is only showing vulnerabilities for the top level of that application based on the CPE of that application. So like Adobe Reader version 1.1.1. Those are the only CVEs you're going to see based on that CPE. What we are doing is taking Adobe Reader version 1.1.1 and breaking that down into all of its subsequent libraries, dependencies, and subcomponents, some of which are going to be open source, some of which are going to be closed source. And then we turn those packages, libraries, and open source components into CPEs as well, if where possible, CPEs or pearls, and then identify the CVEs and other risks associated with those. So we're aggregating all of that data for you. The CVEs is a second order use case, frankly. The primary use case that we're attempting to solve here for people is building a comprehensive inventory from the ground up. So just saying you have Adobe Reader is not a comprehensive software inventory. That is just the top level of what actually exists on that endpoint. Without having the software bill of materials for each of these applications, operating systems, et cetera, you're getting a limited view of the true state of your software inventory. So then once that's done, and that first step can be optional, frankly, right? If you don't want to give us all of your binaries to start off with, okay, but having all of that in advance would be better. But then as you go through your patch management process and you're updating, Zoom or VMware or whatever other applications are running in your environment across all these different platforms, we can basically, prior to updating a particular application, we analyze that software package, identify any potential issues, and then now we provide you with data-driven capabilities to say, do I want to apply this update? There has been many cases where we have done this work for folks and encountered a remote executable vulnerability that was introduced as part of the update, right? Are people doing this on purpose? But 99.9% of the time, no, right? Are there opportunities here where there are malicious software supply chain compromises and we uncover those by doing this analysis? Absolutely. So we're giving you this visibility that you previously did not have, so that you can now make data-driven decisions around things. And sometimes you might see something that you might not like, but you have to apply those updates anyways, because maybe there's features or capabilities that you need to introduce into your organization. But at least now you have visibility into that problem, so that you can take appropriate compensating or mitigating actions due to that risk that you encountered. And then you can reach out to these vendors or have us do it on your behalf through a managed service. And we can basically coordinate that communication for you, and help understand why this issue exists. And sometimes it'll be benign, right? There's all kinds of potential reasons why this might occur. So then this just becomes part of a continuous process. So now, in addition to getting great patch management from Action1, you're also getting a robust software inventory from the ground up. So next time a log4j happens, or when xzutils does find its way into production environments, you can rest assured that you have the ability on your own to figure out, am I impacted by this? And if so, where? Which, unless someone else has some other capabilities I'm unaware of, which I would love to hear if so, no one really has the ability to answer that question on their own still. So it is
Even
still
the vendors
impossible.
themselves, the vendors, like
It,
those vendor updates that are coming out, like they have no idea in a lot of cases. Like, okay, yo, here's a new version, but
that's
it
right.
does have log4j compiled right into it. Right.
That's right. Because a lot of times, right, most people are doing they're doing their best. They're using maybe some source code solutions and looking at things as it's going through their pipelines. Um, but oftentimes they're not looking at the final built product from a compiled code perspective. So they could be missing things that are getting pulled in from a compilation process or being linked after the fact. There's just a number of steps that can occur that introduce other things that are missed. And so this addresses that. And then even if they are using some other compiled code an analysis capability, we have to be able to trust and verify the software that we are bringing into our environment, right? So we do this already. This is from a philosophy, or from a security paradigm perspective. This is really no different than what antivirus solutions have been doing for years. It's just that antivirus solutions are narrowly focused on saying, is this piece of code good or bad? Is it malicious or benign or potentially unwanted? It's addressing the final built software analysis problem on one very specific use case, which is this malicious or not, essentially? What we are saying is a piece of software can be totally benign, not malicious whatsoever, but still introduce a significant amount of risk into your environment, even from a very well-known software supplier, right? I mean, this has happened time and time and time again. This is not a new problem. In fact, it's arguably the oldest problem. And so that's what we are solving for. We're not trying to replace antivirus solutions, obviously. What we are trying to do is provide organizations a set of visibility into their software and compiled code that they currently do not possess. So hopefully
With
that's
you,
helpful.
I think you have some detail in the slides going for, because there's a few of these terms might be new to especially to the Action1 user base. Like,
Sure.
what is an SBOM? What is a CP? Stuff like that. We'll get into that. So don't worry if you missed a few bits of information on that. Okay. Let's see. All right. So the demo, seeing is believing. So what at this point we're gonna cover both do a super quick 5 minute demos of Action1, then before Tom goes into what NetRise does. So get uh let me get this going real quick. I'm gonna share my screen again. Okay, hopefully everyone can see it. Confirm. Yeah, okay. Just a confirmation. Can you see on
That's
screen
great.
right now? Perfect. Yeah, this is as I said, Action1 is a patch management solution that just works. So what happens? So once you have it all configured and deployed, which takes less than 5 minutes, and I'll show you that. So you're gonna be able to see all of your vulnerabilities in real time, what patches are available, dig deeper into that, see what software is installed, what updates are missing. There's a this breakdown. So I do have 9 critical vulnerabilities that are overdue per the SLAs that I said. So stuff like that. And it all starts with so the first thing you do when you sign up for Action1, which is free. So when you sign up, no questions asked. You just get in and you get your first 100 endpoints for free with no feature limits. It just works, and anything else on top of that is a paid subscription, but you can use the first free 100 for as long as you want. And if you even if you're a large enterprise, if you have a test lab for with 50 servers, or even if it's a production lab, yeah, feel free to use that for as long as you want. It's a super simple process. You just push in, click this install agent, so you can download either a Windows agent, or we just added support for Mac OS. We're working adding support for Linux as well, so it's going to be available once it's installed. You'll see this all these agents in the list, and like I got my test Mac system here with see full detail. What is it running? What updates are currently missing on that? What vulnerabilities exist? So like here, I got I got a couple of third-party applications like Chrome and Firefox, and also the operating system update that is pending. And you can dig deeper into what vulnerabilities actually exist in it. Per what's available, what's documented. But again, it's not necessarily what actually exists, but because what is actually compiled into this latest into the currently installed version of Safari, even Apple may not know exactly, right? And NetRise will give you a lot better detail on that. And then in terms of, and then if you want to quickly remediate, you can just handpick those that you want. Let's say I just want to do the Chrome update, just hit deploy updates. And you can specify different things like I don't know if you need to reboot what the how much time do you want to give to users to reboot, and of course it's the peer-to-peer distribution system is enabled by default. It's a zero configuration, so it just works. So that if an update is large, it gets broken down into smaller pieces, and all the endpoints get it without downloading the whole package all the time. You target it based on your endpoints. Like in this case, it's just a single endpoint that I've already picked, and then you can schedule it to run either now or at a later time during non-business hours. And also, if that endpoint is offline, you can give it some sufficient time. Like here, I got 60 minutes, but I can do say, oh, I want to give it a couple days or 4 days. So say I'm running this on Friday. The user already switched off their laptop and they're not coming back until Monday. So they come back, but I can still run it now, and it'll just give wait for 4 days until it comes back and still deploy. And this is a manual way, but of course you can also automate. We have this automation section. You can create a new automation and deploy based. You can either deploy all or automatically with a delay. So see this delay by default 7 days. I can say, oh, hopefully within 7 days, if something's wrong with any of these updates, their vendors will pull those back, republish, and get things done right. So 7 days is something that our users will like using. Or you can go more granular. You can do say, oh, I only want to do, well, I want to do all both applications and operating system mandatory updates, and I only want to go by critical. Anything that's critical, yes, install that within 7 days. Don't ask me because it's critical, it's needed. I don't want to worry about it. And you can apply this to uh, say, okay, this goes out to my test group, and you can do targeted by. So, for example, I got my uh, group A, ring A, or you can call it just that, and schedule it to run every day. So like if it's your test group, why not? Like run every day, see what updates are available and get them deployed. If those systems are healthy, then you apply it to any of your other ranks of updates. And you can define groups automatically when you go into some of the groups that I already have. You can see it's based on criteria. You can target it based on directory OUs. If you have Active Directory, you can do it by any other attributes, including custom attributes that you define, and it gets populated for you automatically. Or you can also, of course, add endpoints manually to it, like pick those you want and target. But once you have those groups created, and over time, like you can optimize the process, you can fully automate it and works like Marvel. And there's of course there's if you so all of this information, as I mentioned, it's all real time. It gets to you almost immediately. If something changes, you'll see it here immediately. And there's also this real time reporting component. So if you go to specifically, if you go to patch management, you can quickly see what generate all different kinds of reports, and we have about 100 predefined reports. All of them operate on a real-time basis as well. So all this data, if the endpoints are online at the moment, you'll see what's current. If some of them are not online, you'll see what we previously know, like a cached information. But again, once they come back online, it'll get refreshed. And you can customize any of those reports, add, remove columns, and create your own. We have a number of built-in data sources you can utilize, or you can even build your own data sources based. You can write your script, say you can write a PowerShell script that retrieves certain types of information and then generate a report out of it. And I think, yeah, and going more into where NetRise comes into play. So this installed software, it's a view that shows you every piece of software installed as Action1 detected it, but via the agent network, so you can drill down into where it's actually installed, like this 7-zip application. You can see which endpoints run it. Is it up to date? Is it vulnerable? You can deploy an update if it's available. You can uninstall it if this is not something that you want on your environment. You can just mass uninstall. And for uninstalling, it's a very popular way to go for remediation. Like something is super outdated, super old, no updates. Like why would you even want to have it? So you can target it by a specific version. You can say no, just anything that's 7-zip you don't want to use because you use any other utility for zipping stuff like that. So it is pretty advanced in terms of how you can remediate that. And then in going into the software repository, another component that ties into what we're talking about today. So this is a privately maintained repository for every application that we support. So all these updates, so like if you look at Adobe Reader. So this one hosts every single detail in terms of what we keep a list of versions, uh, including the current version. So we have an in-house team that maintains this information. When a new version comes out, we add it within 24 hours. So you can patch us. If anything that's more critical, we usually do it even faster, but the SLA is 24 hours. But as you can see, it's pretty comprehensive information, how to install it, what switches to use. So it's all built in, predefined, and we host it for you. We host it for you in the cloud, and it gets distributed to your endpoints with a P2P mechanism. And you can create your custom packages here as well. So if you have any software that's not supported by Action1, you can add it to the repository. And again, this is where SBOM and scanning for vulnerabilities comes into play as well. And I think, yeah, that's a pretty good overview in terms of what Action1 does. Should give you an idea, those of you who are not familiar. But the key point is it's very simple to use. You can really get started in under 5 minutes if you want to, and quickly scale it to as many systems as you want. And we have customers who run it on hundreds of thousands of systems, and because it's just so scalable because it's cloud native. Every agent connects to the cloud. There's no choke points on your network that prevent from widespread deployment. Uh, okay, let me go back to the deck. Let me get started. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Um, live on the deck. Now, Tom, over to you. Let's get into some details into what NetRise does.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. So, as I mentioned previously, our big mission is providing enterprise software transparency. So, the blind spot that enterprises still have is EDR and EPP solutions have come a very, very long way, right? Gone are the days where everybody is incredibly frustrated with their antivirus agents that they have to manage, and that cause performance issues and things like that. Obviously, there's been other issues, but you understand what I'm saying. Attackers have to exhibit a significant amount of effort to really get things moving on an endpoint compared to what they had to do in the past. However, the supply chains are weaker than ever. People are still able to contribute code to these repositories. Constantly, we're seeing certain projects being compromised and having malicious contributors submit code to them, and then that has a significant downstream impact that can be orders of magnitude bigger than just dropping a single malicious binary on an endpoint, right? One targeted phishing attack seems incredibly minor whenever you start thinking about a very prominent open source software component that gets compromised that's used globally. And obviously, we avoided a pretty significant global disaster with the XZ issue that was identified by an engineer at Microsoft. So, these attacks are waiting. These dependencies are layers deep. If we look at the Log4j issue, it wasn't like there was a lack of desire or effort to figure out where is Log4j in my environment? Like, do I have this problem or not? Lots of people wanted to figure this out, and they just were not able to do it because they did not have a way to rip apart the pieces of code that are in their environment. And there's this very big assumption, I think, from end users' perspective. And to be totally honest, my expectations were very, very different prior to starting this company, which might sound maybe a bit counterintuitive. I did not expect the problem to be as significant as it is. But the people writing the code and building these applications and building these operating systems and writing this firmware do not have the visibility that we would all hope and dream that they have. They just do not. And so what ends up happening here is this issue occurs and we just have no way to respond to it, which is very different than issues that have been happening in the past, right? If we know there's a CVE associated with Microsoft Outlook, right? It's very easy for us to figure out. Do we have Microsoft Outlook? Yes. What version is it? It's this version. Is that an affected version? Yes. What do we need to do? We have to patch it. Great. These other problems that affect subcomponents that are in everything is a much, much harder problem to address. And we still don't have a great way to do that just yet. And so the other problem is a lot of these solutions are purpose built for, only Windows, only Mac, only firmware, only whatever. We have built our platform to support all of these things. So whether you want something ripped apart for a container or a Windows application or a virtual disk image or a firmware image running on a router, a switch, a firewall, a VPN, a security camera, whatever it is, we can address all of those different asset types and use cases. Obviously, SBOM compliance is a thing. It's here. It's picking up more and more momentum as time goes on. We have regulation coming down the pipe. We have software attestations in the federal government. We have a number of really significant tailwinds pushing this market in a positive direction. And we are getting a significant amount of inbounds from organizations that are looking to get better visibility into the third-party code that they are procuring. Next slide, Mike.
Yep.
That's a very dramatic transition. I like that. So whenever we think about software supply chain security, typically what people are thinking about is selling source code solutions to developers. Do we think that should continue to happen? 100%. We should definitely continue to keep selling source code solutions to developers. They need those to help do their job better. It helps provide better visibility and identify all these other problems that can be addressed. However, just generally speaking, software developers are not security professionals. Just like security professionals are not generally developers. Now, everyone's going to say, well, hey, I do security and I'm a great developer, or hey, I'm a developer and I write really secure code. Yeah, I know. Those are generally the exceptions to this rule, right? Software developers' jobs is to write code and bring products to market, period, right? That's the way the world works. It's all about time to market, not secure to market. So that's fine. So we've been trying to address this problem from a source code perspective for decades. And I think you would have a pretty difficult time saying that we've made the progress that we would hope to have made. Have we made progress? Undeniably. Have we made the progress we would all expect to have made, given the investment, the number of vendors, the solutions we put in place, the training, everything else? Absolutely not. There's no way that could be true. So we've been shifting this problem left. We keep trying to promise everyone that if we shift this problem as far left as possible, if we start training developers while they're in utero to write secure code, that it'll just be perfect forever, and that is just not proving to be true. So what we are actually advocating for is shifting right. So the other issue here, which I mentioned at the beginning, is even if we're writing the most secure code as we possibly can or imagine we can, that analysis and that data is not provided to end users, right? So if you're buying Zoom or Adobe Reader or Microsoft PowerPoint, whatever it is, you do not have, they don't package up with you with that piece of software the vulnerabilities they found. Here are the ones they fixed. Here are the ones they couldn't get to. Here's the roadmap for vulnerability in the future. Like, you don't get any of that, obviously. So you're missing all of this visibility and risk identification for this software that you're getting from your third parties. Now, are all of these vulnerabilities the end of the world? Definitely not. Can all of them be fixed in an easy, non-trivial manner? Also, or trivial manner? Also, definitely not. But we need to get the visibility so that we can say, okay, everyone has this problem. This is not unique to anyone. It's not unique to Microsoft or Adobe or any of these other enormous companies. Everyone has this problem. But until we get the visibility in front of the people who are writing the checks, such as yourselves, we're not going to be able to really begin to move this mountain. And thankfully, there's a lot of other areas where that's pushing this in a very positive direction. So next slide, Mike.
So you open this Pandora's box for everyone. Thanks for doing this. Yeah, just to be mindful of time. So it's not, we got 18 minutes left. So just there's down on Q&A. There's some questions on it too.
So just real quick to level set this for people. I think this is probably clear, but what we're really creating with an SBOM is a set of relationships at the end of the day. Here are all of the pieces and parts and how they're related to one another that roll up to this bigger thing. The analogy that we're all very familiar with is really just probably the perfect way to represent this, which is the ingredients list of a thing, right? And this is where I think that analogy, why it's so good, is because it also does an excellent job at objection handling reasons not to do SBOMs, right? One example of that would be that there's this incredible misconception that you are somehow providing a pathway to the attacker by generating an SBOM. Well, I mean, that would be true if we were the only company on planet Earth that was capable of doing that. And somehow all the intellectual property associated with generating an SBOM was only in the NetRise engineers' heads. But of course, that's not true. And that attackers can obviously go generate SBOMs for compiled code, right? So the only people that are not benefiting from the data that's within an SBOM are the defenders. So the people we're not providing a pathway to is to the defenders, not the other way around. Another objection would be like, hey, we're somehow going to be leaking intellectual property based on an SBOM. Also untrue. SBOMs do not contain code. They just contain the name, version, CPE, or Perl of a particular component in that code, which, by the way, once again, anybody with a decompiler or the ability to do string searches in a binary is going to be able to go in and look at. So this is just some of the value we can provide once you have this data set: inventory, incident response, vulnerability management, and third-party risk. So just some of the key features once in our platform, that some of these are specific to SBOM, some are not. Vulnerability identification, SBOM generation, the ability to search, data enrichment for the SBOM. So we're not just saying here's an SBOM and here's the CVEs. We're also giving you, are these things on the KEV? What national vulnerability databases did these CVEs come from? Are there exploits available? If yes, are they unproven? Are they weaponized? Are they proof of concept exploits? Are threat actors targeting these CVEs? Are these CVEs being used for ransomware, et cetera? We also identify hard-coded credentials, as well as find things like misconfigurations, public keys, private key certificates. So I'll be showing you this, but people are pretty surprised when they see a Windows application that might have thousands of certificates in it, or hard-coded credentials, or other supply chain artifacts that exist in a seemingly simple and benign Windows application actually have an extraordinary amount of artifacts in them that at least need to be understood, that they are there, that they are present.
Yeah, so you can do mitigations if needed, right?
Or at least just figure out if they are there, so you're impacted by something downstream.
Yeah.
So this is just a high-level overview of what the platform looks like, and I'll be jumping into a demo here. But as I mentioned previously, we are advocating for this shift right mentality. Focus on, well, the source of truth for end users is the compiled code, right? It's not the source code, because that's not a
So we're left is like what developers develop, because if we go like left to right reading order, right? So like, okay, they develop and they compile, that's like the right code is left, compile version is right.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's do make a host so you can present. Hold on. Okay, take it away.
All right. So first thing I'll show you here, I have a handful of artifacts in here. This is just a normal Windows application that does CAD software. It's a piece of CAD software, rather. So first thing I want to call out is this file, this executable, rather, has 677,000 files in it in one Windows application. So that is I think that probably exceeds the number that most people had in their brain. And just in this one Windows application, if you looked up this application, I'm not providing the vendor and version and all that because it's not really helpful for this conversation. But if you looked at this thing from its CPE perspective in national vulnerability databases, or even the product security pages of this particular vendor, you would find nothing. You would find no CVEs. There are none that they are talking about. However,
Just
we
for
find
context, CP is like that. I is that the name of software plus version. It's like a common platform enumeration.
enumeration.
So
Yeah. So
yeah,
here, if you looked
it's
at
basically like what is that? Like Adobe version 10, whatever, right? That's the combination pair, right? What maps
Yeah,
to it.
so if I come in here to the SBOM for this particular Windows application, what you'll find is we actually identify 530 components that make up this Windows application, which is obviously a significant number. And then if I came in here to this .NET component that we found, that's the CPE. That's the unique identifier of that particular component that we were able to identify and validate. So once you have a CPE, you can then correlate that with known CVEs that exist. And so there was a question earlier about SysAKEVs. So in this case, there is a SysAKEV associated with this version of .NET. And there it is. And it goes all the way back to 2023. And then this vulnerability is also being targeted by multiple different threat groups. And we link those various threat groups. In this case, most of them are unattributed. And we also give you links to all of the exploit code associated with this particular vulnerability within this application. Even more than that, we give you all of the other associated files that this component is also a part of. So we give you, once again, all of those different relationships that exist across the board. For the SBOM of this particular thing, this can be downloaded in CycloneDX or SPDX format. We also include known unknowns, which would be all the first-party code, most likely, that does not have a CPE or Perl associated with it, as well as how confident we are in a particular component in terms of what it is. And then we can give you the vulnerabilities and the VEX as well. There's a big argument in SBOM land about do you include CVEs or not in SBOMs, which has always been a silly argument to me because you can either just include them or not, right? So, and then you can
It's a
group
can of
these.
worms, right? A lot of people are like, oh, like plausible
It
deniability. Yeah, all right,
it
yeah,
creates
we
problems.
we don't want to
Yep.
know about that.
And then one other thing I wanted to show you here is this is that same application. And here you see 205,000 certificates that exist in this particular Windows application, which is obviously a big number. And most of them are expired or have a constraint violation or just they have some other issue. So why are they there? And most of the time, they won't even know that they are there. And so this just provides evidence that there is not great visibility and transparency coming from a lot of these suppliers. And it's not, even necessarily negligence or anything like that. It's just they don't even know what they don't know in some of these cases. One other example I'll show briefly. This is a Docker container that's pretty new. So you'll see it actually doesn't have, believe it or not, this is something with not very many vulnerabilities in comparison to many of the things we look at. So I'm actually not showing a very egregious example here. But then if I come here into the CVEs, even for something brand new, you'll see there's a CVE going all the way back to 2007. So something else that we can do because of the data we have here is if we wanted to say, hey, only show me the CVEs that have a KEV, that are on the KEV list rather. So you would just slide that over and you can see here, there's this CV here is on the SysAKEV. Great. And then if you wanted to drill into this, just like I showed you before, you get all this additional information. Here's all the exploits available for the CVE. There's evidence that this particular CVE is being used to drop ransomware payloads. We give you that. But then in addition, what we can also do is sort this by correlations and say, all right, this vulnerability in glibc, let's just imagine this is a really big problem for whatever reason. It's the next log4j, the world's ending. And we need to figure out where else is this vulnerability across my entire ecosystem. Now we have to operate under the assumption that all the data has been given to us, but this can happen after the fact as well. And then this will say this vulnerability is found in 4 other assets. We click on this and we give you all of the assets that have that CVE. So this is really important here because what you'll see is this CVE is found in a container, a memory dump, a virtual disk image, and a firmware image of a networking device. It's hard to find 4 more different things than that. And yet, that same component with that same vulnerability is found in all of those different assets and artifact types. Now, does it mean that it's exploitable in the context of all of these assets out of the gate? It's impossible to know, right? It depends how it's deployed. It depends how it's linked. It depends if the code path is like there's all this context that we are also actively working on. But the problem we are predominantly addressing here is telling you where these components are, do you have them or not, and are you, potentially impacted by that CVE due to its presence or lack thereof. So
you
I
can
will
raise this question with the vendor, right? So instead
correct.
present them these hard questions, right?
You
No,
got it.
I was like first time Tom showed me this product, I was blown away by the amount of the depth of information. It's just so eye-opening. It's incredible. Did a great job, Tom.
Thanks.
All right, let's get to the finish line. Right, so okay. Just a recap. Well, how we see this integration going forward is yeah, Action1 possesses all this uh, software updates uh, in the software repository that can get scanned as bombs can get generated, so give you visibility, and then based on that, you can go back to Action1 and make decisions like whether you want to patch, update, deploy. And any added thoughts, Tom? Anything you can add on top of
No,
this?
I just wanted to have this slide in here again to
Uh-huh.
reinforce what we're trying to accomplish here in terms of how both of our platforms have a better together narrative. So, and
Yeah,
we're really
perfect.
excited to see what questions you all have.
Let's do a quick poll. Let's see. Yeah, just so we understand. All right, it should be on the screen. Just to get an idea what's important to you, what might be of your interest, like what if as bombs, how many of you are actually required to provide as bombs and actually request them from your vendors, or if you're intending to do that, that would be really interesting to find out. So thanks to everyone taking their time to answer
And Mike,
questions.
while folks are doing that, there's a question here for you. Is Action
Yeah.
1 only for IT environments or also for OT environments? For example, B&R controllers are supported, etc. Where is the cloud hosted for Europeans in Europe? So
Mhm.
I guess there's 3
So
questions.
we don't support the OT yet. So we're Windows, Mac OS, and Linux is coming OT, is something that we'll probably are looking to integrate with another vendor at some point, or even acquire another vendor specializing in that, so we can get it under the same umbrella. As far as the where it's hosted, we have at this time we have 3 different options: North America, Europe, and Australia, with more locations coming. Specifically for Europe, it's hosted in Frankfurt, Germany. So that's and what was the third question? Let's see. Let me get to that. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll real quick. So yeah, interesting. So that well a third of respondents said yeah, they are actually requesting as bombs from vendors. This is interesting. And very few actually said no. Only 12% said no, don't plan to, but the majority of people either requesting or planning to start requesting those. Yeah, interesting.
That
Okay,
is
thanks.
That's the expectation I have. That's what I've been seeing in the market as
Uh-huh.
well. And that's what I think most of you will find is you'll get some pushback, uh, or you will get just some of the vendors just will not have the ability to provide them.
Right.
So in the same way, we don't expect, um, you know, we don't expect Windows to totally prevent all malicious software from running on our operating system, right? Like it just isn't going to happen. Uh,
Yeah.
we shouldn't expect the people providing software into our environment to also be the people responsible for uh, telling you exactly what's in it. Like at a bare minimum, there should be a trust but verify.
Yeah.
But we're not even there yet, right? We're earlier than that. So being able to do
Totally.
this on your own is really important, especially if it is a top priority for you.
So there's a couple questions that we have. What type of integration policies are envisioned? So that's a great question. This is actually what we're looking to get from you. If any of you are interested in becoming a design partner or have some thoughts on as far as like what do you actually what would you expect would be great to hear. We have some thoughts internally, but again, we want to be
Yeah,
in the real world situation and get
I'll
it
give
from
some
you, and then.
thoughts.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I mean, so some policies that
We only
I
got
envision.
be mindful. We got only 1 minute left, so we got
Oh, okay.
two more questions. Yeah, I think
Major
yeah would be
component.
really. Go ahead.
I was gonna
All right.
say,
So that what? Okay. Question from Tim. What determines when third-party software gets added to the software inventory software repository? I know I can add my own, but just curious why some gets added, but some don't. So we at Action1 we just look for user feedback. The most popular request base we have our public roadmap, cast a vote. The more votes are get cast, the more likelihood of getting them added. We also look at the like in general what's popular out there based on the anonymized statistics.
I'll
uh
answer this one,
uh-huh,
Mike.
sure.
So the sources of vulnerability intelligence exceed the NVD already. We aggregate
uh,
all of the national vulnerability databases globally. We've brought in 30 or 40 different exploit information databases, threat intelligence around threat actors, the SysAkev, et cetera. We bring in roughly 150 third-party data sources, as well as some self-curated resources based on our own research team. We will always use the United States NVD as a data source, but it has never been and never will be the only data source.
that's
So
great.
hopefully that
Yeah,
answers your
given
question,
how
Ryan.
the backlog and all the issues that they've been having in this last year. And then we'll take the last question. This seems like a system that Action1 would leverage to assist with CV reporting to vendors. Yeah, possibly, very possibly. It's given the breadth of information, and it could be a world changing, right? Because we're trying to open like show it to the vendor. Like, okay, you have this all these issues. You will not acknowledge them until we actually put you in the put you on the spot. Yeah, it's kind of a put those vendors on the spot to get them to fix those. You know, how many more log4j's can we uh tolerate and for how many years it's been since it was discovered and it still exists, right? That's the brutal honest truth about it. Okay,
Yeah, Zach,
well, I think
we've had the similar experience in some cases, Zach.
yeah. Okay, vendors
That's-
don't want to like I guess it's all about crowd crowd reporting, right? It's like if it's just one customer, oh yeah, we have all the CVEs, please fix this. But if we get thousands of customers reporting that, maybe that'll make this shift, make open the floodgates. Let's open the floodgates and make this world more secure. So hopefully it's finally stopping a lot of this vulnerability exploitation. All right. Well, after this session, there's a short poll, and that actually has this question about whether you want to become a design partner. So please, if you have 30 seconds of your time, please answer that. And other than that, thanks everyone attending. Hopefully you enjoyed the session, and these are the QR codes and sign up links for both Action1 and NetRise. And we'll see you again. And thank you, Tom, for being today with me, helping me to co-host. Really enjoyed this.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, let's get this.